All right, question time. Which of these do you prefer? Okay, here's the deal. A few weeks ago, I posted a video entitled What to Do When Your Best is Just Okay. And in that, I referred to a video that I had posted that after I watched it, I wasn't super excited about it. The video was okay, but it wasn't great. And I was kind of like, eh. Now, there were a number of things in that video that I felt I could have done better. There was a number of things that I was not entirely happy about that just made it an okay video. But after I posted it and I began to think about it, there began to be one thing that really stood out to why I don't feel that was a great video. And that was the fact that in that video, I revealed a problem for myself and then I never solved the problem. And if I didn't solve the problem for me, I never solved the problem for you. So I want the opportunity to fix that. I want to do a redo, if you will. So let's talk about it. So what was the problem I revealed in that video that I never solved? Well, in that video, I asked the question, which is better for learning, digital or print? And it turns out the evidence strongly favors print. That if you're going to learn things, if you're going to study something and you want to comprehend it and you want to retain it, studies have shown that print is better for that and more conducive to that than digital. And I answered that question. The answer is print. But then the rest of the video, I went on to talk about how convenient digital is. Now, here's the problem. The problem is I wasn't asking, was digital convenient? The problem that I revealed was I still want to learn digitally. Because of all those conveniences, I'm not going to switch to print. I know myself. I know my schedule. I know my work habits. I know the things that I have to take to work and leave. And if I'm always looking for a print book to read, I'm not going to be feeding myself on a regular basis as I am now. So the problem I revealed is not which is better. The problem I need to solve is there anything I can do to make digital more conducive for comprehension and retention? So I want to solve it today. So that's the question. If you're going to learn digitally, if you're going to read your books on a device instead of a print book, is there anything that we can do that would make it more conducive or more likely for us to comprehend it, more likely for us to retain it, be able to bring it back and be able to act on it? And the answer is there is. So here are the 5 tips that I found in how to make digital more conducive for comprehension and for learning. Number 1, I think you need to set intention. This is the more intentional life. The whole channel is about intention, right? But what is intention? If you're going to set intention when you're going to study or you're going to learn, what you're going to do is you need to tell yourself, I'm reading this for a purpose. I'm reading this to comprehend. I'm reading this in order to be able to retain it. And what that does is that primes your mindset for learning and growth. That puts your mind in the right frame of reference to learn. And so just that simple act of before I pick up my phone and just start reading, I set the intention of however long I'm reading right now, whether I'm going to read for an hour or whether I'm going to read for 10 minutes because I'm sitting in a line at the DMV, I'm going to learn something right now. And if you set that intention, then your mind is now prepared to learn whatever you're going to read. Number 2, I think that you need to apply active reading techniques. There's passive reading and there's active reading. So what are some active reading techniques that you can do that will make digital more conducive for your comprehension and learning? Well, number 1, you can get in the habit of underlining and highlighting important points. Be on the lookout for what is the author trying to say right now, and then highlight that. Number 2, while you're reading, ask yourself questions and challenge assumptions. If the author just made a point or he just stated something, ask yourself, do I agree with that? We're reading to learn, but we also need to be thinking about what we learn. I would also say use the built-in dictionary. If we're reading for comprehension, if there's a word you don't know, look it up. So many of the readers, you can just click on the word and highlight it and it pops up a dictionary definition. You can't do that with print. But if you're reading for comprehension, utilize that tool, but then don't just look it up. Read the definition and then go back and reread that sentence with that new understanding of that word in mind. And by taking the time just to purposefully learn that word and then put that definition back into the sentence, you're going to comprehend, you're going to learn more. Next, I would say force yourself to summarize sections and chapters. After you read something, it's so easy to go to the next, and you get in the habit of I'm just reading. But if you're not stopping and thinking about what did I just read, then you're not actively reading. So after you finish a section, after you finish a chapter, just stop and force yourself. Okay, what did I read? What were the primary points? How would I summarize that in my own words? Next, I would say, and this is a very important one, put into practice what you learned. That is one of the best ways for you to actually learn something and get it down in you to where it becomes part of your normal processes, is to actually put it into action. If you read a book on budgeting, once you're done, sit down and make a budget. Even if there's other ways to do a budget, actually do the process that author did. And then if you read another book about budgeting that has a different process and a different way of doing it, go write another budget using that process. And by putting it into action, actually doing it, you're actually going to comprehend and retain that way better. Next, I would say go back and look at your highlights. Reread your highlights. As you're reading, you're highlighting the book, you're active reading. Once you finish a chapter, go back and reread your highlights. Once you finish the book, go back through all of the book and read your highlights. 2 weeks later, come back and reread your highlights, and just you're following through. You're putting back into your mind the primary points, the main points that author did. And then you can also type or write out all your highlights. Actually take the time, don't just copy and paste, make yourself type it. While you're doing it, you're rereading the highlights again, and you're putting conscious effort into that typing. The third thing I would say you have to do is, if possible, use a dedicated reader. So I'm talking about, instead of using your tablet or your phone, which you can put a Kindle app on, use something like a Kindle Paperwhite. Now, why would we do that? Well, studies have shown there's something called the phone proximity effect. And what the phone proximity effect is they've done studies that if your phone is in close reach, like if you're at your desk and you're studying and your phone is on the desk, your cognitive performance is negatively impacted by the presence of your phone, even if you're not looking at it, even if you're not doing anything with it. And if the proximity phone effect is a real thing, and your cognitive performance can be negatively impacted just by the phone being there on your desk, well, how much more is it if it's in your hand and you're staring at it? Now, the fourth thing I would say is, if you do have to use a phone or a tablet, make sure you turn off the notifications. Turn off all notifications, turn off all the beeping, put it in focus mode. Most phones now have a focus mode. Why? You're trying to focus. You're trying to be intentional to learn and grow. And you cannot not be distracted if text messages are popping up the whole time, or Facebook messages are popping up the whole time. And so even if you're going to read for 5 minutes, put your phone in focus mode and set that intention. I'm going to read this right now, and as I read this, I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, and I've done everything I can to negate that phone proximity effect and to negate me being distracted. And then the last one, I thought this was pretty interesting. Studies have shown that if the reader you're using has a continuous scroll, it's just, you just swipe up to go, you will actually learn and comprehend less than apps that require you to, quote, turn a page. And I thought this was interesting. The Kindle app that I use, you swipe to turn the page. But I have a Bible app that it's a continuous scroll. And one of the things that made me start thinking about this question about print versus digital was that Bible app. Because when I read my Bible in my print physical book, I can remember where I highlighted and I can remember what that page looked like. You can't do that with a continuous scroll. It doesn't look the same. But you get some of that effect if you have a page in your reader that you have to turn. That page still stays the same as long as you don't change font size or anything like that. And so what I did is I actually went into my Bible app and I found there was a setting to switch between pages or continuous scroll. And I switched that, and I'm already seeing a difference. So if the digital reader you're using or whatever has the option between scrolling, just a continuous scroll, or flipping a page, turn it to flip the page. And studies have shown that will at least make it more conducive for learning than if you just have to do a continuous scroll. So there you go. I solved my problem. Now, will all these tips make it so digital does beat out print? But that wasn't my problem. My problem is I'm not switching to print right now. And so I believe that if you do these things, you will make your time while you're reading digitally, you'll make it more conducive for your learning. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to fix that video. It was just one of those things, you just think about it, and you're like, I didn't solve my problem and I didn't solve your problem. Well, it's all about intention. We are intentionally growing. And if digital is the way you do it, now there are things you can do intentionally to make that more conducive. And so next time you're reading your digital book, try some of these. Let me know if it helps. If you have any other tips on how to make digital more conducive to learning and retention and comprehension, please put it in the comments. I'd like to know if there's anything more, because I really like my digital books, and I've been learning and growing, but I want to get the full effect of it. I want to get the most return of my reading as I can. But until then, if you've liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Share it if it would help someone else. If you'd like, please subscribe to this video. Come back for more of just these simple conversations. But until then, go out and live the more intentional life.